Good afternoon. As president of the Belgium Google Apps user group, I'd like to welcome everybody here for our second event on Google Drive in your enterprise. And I must say I'm very pleased to already see some familiar faces here in the audience, as well as some new faces. And for those who visit us or who watch for the second time, they already know the drill. But for those who visit us for the first time, I'm going to start with some practical announcements. I'm going to ask everybody to switch off or mute their mobile phones. And those who want to Twitter, they can use the hashtag #LGAU. And then last, after every speaker's session, there will be the opportunity to post or ask questions. For the people that are following through the Hangout on Air, they can post their questions using the Q&A app on the right side of their screen. But it's very important that they post their questions within the first 10 to 15 minutes of the speaker session, because there's a small delay between the real-time event here and the broadcasting on the Hangout on Air, and we wouldn't want to miss their questions. So let's get this show on the road. I say we always start with an introduction by a Google expert. And today, this is Peter Bavinck. He is Enterprise Partner Solutions Engineer at Google. That's a mouthful. And Peter is going to talk about Google's intentions and visions with Google Drive. And he's going to show us how Google intends to anticipate on the trends in the market with this platform. Peter.
Thanks. Thank you very much for having me. I actually look forward to the other presentations today as well. As Michael mentioned, my name is Peter Bavinck. I'm a sales engineer. That's a lot shorter. I work primarily with partners, helping organizations understand what they can achieve by implementing Google Apps. And I couldn't help myself to wear orange today, so please apologies for that. So, as I mentioned, I work very closely with customers, and one of the most anticipated questions that I have are about product update. What is coming next? What are the features? What is the roadmap? What can we expect in the coming months? And I hate to disappoint, but I'm really not at liberty to answer any questions regarding changes to any of our products in a near or long-term future. What I will do, however, I will focus on some trends that we've seen the last couple of years, which hopefully will help you conclude that Google Drive is a very important cornerstone in our offering. And I will shed some light on how we look at Google Drive within the overall enterprise offering, and that will definitely give you some insight on whether Drive is an important piece for us or not. So the first trend, and these trends, they've been around for a couple of years, but that does not mean that they're not relevant anymore. As a matter of fact, we'll see in a couple of slides that they are very, very relevant. So the first one is that 1 out of 3 employees is regularly working outside their office. And it used to be like field engineers or salespeople that work on the road. And work used to be a place. You worked from 9 to 5. And we've seen, and this has been accelerated the last couple of years, a tremendous shift in where work is not actually more or much less bound to a place and bound to a specific time frame. So we work not from 9 to 5. When I open my eyes in the morning, my phone is next to my bed. There might have been an update from the US that I'm interested in. So my way of work, or my workday starts at 6:30 in the morning. I wouldn't say that's a very good habit that I have, but it is what it is. We work on the train. I commute regularly to the Amsterdam office. So I work on the train. Our customers work with their customers, with their partners, even with their suppliers. So we see employees working everywhere, basically the entire day. And this is a very important trend. And how they do that? They don't have their desktop computer under their arm, so they have a laptop, they have a mobile device, they have a tablet to work, and people want to use their own device. So by the time that you have implemented the deployment of an iPhone, then already your employees are going to want to have the next Android phone. I hope. And so it's very difficult to get the security in place on all those devices, to get even the contract and the delivery from your supplier. That takes a lot of time, and this market is moving so fast that people want to use their own device. They want to do that for phone and tablet, but they also want to use their own tools and technology that they're familiar with. So why is it so easy to share information and documents with your family using a social platform, or sharing it in cloud storage, whether that is Google Drive, Dropbox, Box, or OneDrive? That doesn't really matter. They love using those tools and the ease of use to sharing that information. And they expect this in the working environment as well. And if they don't get it from the employer, they will start using their own tools. And what will happen is that you, as an organization, you don't have control about what is being shared in what way. Now, of course, you all know this already because you guys are leading the pack. You've already adopted Google services because you've seen these trends happening, and you've seen what the impact is going to be for your organization, and you've started adopting Google Drive and Google Docs. And Google Drive is a very important part in response to these trends. Without Google Drive, you wouldn't be able to provide the apps that we have on the mobile devices, the cloud storage, and secure mechanisms to have those mobile devices in a secure way communicate and collaborate on the content that you have stored on Drive. So this trend is big, and Google Drive is the enabler to make Google services work on those trends. And it's even more complex than you might initially think, because we're not talking about one single device or one single operating system. No, people want to use their own phone, and tastes differ. So there's BlackBerry, there's iPhone, there's Android, Windows Phone. So people want to use their own types of device. They're in different versions of operating systems. We're not talking only about mobile, but also about Chromebooks, Windows, Mac machines, Linux. So there's a wide range of devices that are being used to do your work. And so this is a number that on average an employee uses 3 devices to do their work. And if you think, first, when I read this, I went, 3, that's exaggerated. But think about it. Your mobile phone and your PC, and I'm sure there's 1 or 2 other devices that you use regularly to check your email or work on a document. And is this going to change? So did we have the big trend and now it's slowing down? No, it's not. These are numbers from last year. More than half of employees have indicated that they're going to use more of their mobile device than they did a year ago. The first time when I read this slide, and it said 50%, I said, okay, so what? So 50% is doing it more, so maybe 50% is doing it less. So what does it mean? But if you look underneath what this data actually says, it says that 50% is using mobile devices more, and 45% is using the same, and only 5% is less. So that gives you some context that the trend of using mobile devices to do your work anytime, any place is actually being accelerated in the coming years. So mobile, mobile, mobile. And as I mentioned, in response to that, to have a seamless collaboration on a multitude of devices, this is where Google Drive comes in. We've recently released dedicated editor apps for mobile devices, for docs and sheets. Google Drive is an important application for storage, access, and sharing your data with your peers. And this we'll see will continue. So if you take one step back and to give you some ideas, okay, where do we place Google Drive and what is associated around it? So Google Drive obviously sits in the applications space. As you know, we have a single global infrastructure that is second to none. We strongly believe that it's probably the best global platform that's available for cloud, and our applications run. Besides everything else, our applications run on that infrastructure. But next to the different apps that we have other regions which provide supporting functions for our applications, and Google Drive is no exception. So these are marketplaces, developer platform, and enterprise administration tools or functions. So for Drive, we have released Marketplace for Google Drive, where you can find your add-ons for Drive. Recently, we've released add-ons for Docs and Sheets, where third-party developers can provide you with additional functionality that you cannot find in Docs or Sheet today. This is very important because this opens up the infrastructure for Drive and for our apps to enhance the functionality. So there's the developer platform. I love AppScript. I love to script and enhance functionality and automate things. And I almost have to check AppScript documentation on a weekly basis because it changes so very rapidly. We've implemented multiple public APIs within AppScript. So for those who are familiar with that, the Drive API is fully accessible through AppScript. The Google Plus API is becoming stronger and stronger. The admin SDK, so you can maintain core functions of your domain simply from within AppScript. So these things are being enhanced almost on a weekly basis. And last but not least, the enterprise tools. And this has been a big focus of the last year when you look at Google Drive. So what can you expect from that area for Google Drive? You can expect enhanced controls to align the use of Google Drive to your internal business processes and your business practices. So what you can do, what you can't do. Enhanced flexibility and configurability for Google Drive, so that you can set up Google Drive in at a lower granular level, where you can specify the Drive options per organization unit, and even perhaps for teams. You can expect also, I'm not sure if you have seen the updated reporting in the admin console. I think it was released last week or 2 weeks ago. That is paving the way for enhanced reporting and insight, also for Google Drive. So that is a very important domain and focus area for Google to invest in, because these supporting functions for Google Drive, they will help us to position and use Google Drive in a even more wider range of business and user scenarios than that we can do today. And I'm sure that a lot of the requests that you might have are actually being answered within these three areas. So last but not least, I would strongly suggest to stay tuned for product updates through the regular channels. So we have the monthly webinars with what's new. We have the different blogs that will inform you about any upcoming changes. And again, I strongly suggest that you tune into those very soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. Before we continue, I'd like to do a quick check if the people online can hear what we say very well. Okay, no problem. So now we come at the part of the use cases, the company use cases, and our first company speaker is Chris Diegem from Callebaut. And no, Chris is not the Charlie of his chocolate factory. Chris is the IT project leader responsible for collaboration at his firm. And Chris will bring a use case on how to work with linked Office files stored on Google Drive. Chris, the floor is yours.
Also, good afternoon from my side. So, as Michael just mentioned, my name is Chris Bubeck, working as project manager for Callebaut. For those who don't know Callebaut yet, we're the world leader in high-quality chocolate, and since last year also in cocoa products. More than 8,500 employees worldwide, spread over more than 50 locations, more than 6,000 recipes. So there's more than white, dark, and brown chocolate. There is much more. Okay, we serve the entire food industry. The only thing we don't do is we don't make chocolate for consumers. So we are not in the consumer business, but everything above we do. Just to give you an idea about our EBIT, we are almost at 340 million Swiss francs EBIT-wise. But more important and linked to today's presentation is our geographical split. So keep this in mind. We are everywhere from the Americas up to Asia. But keep this in mind when we talk about usage of Google Drive, because this is very important and coming back in the presentation later on. Okay. So what we did before, imagine a case where you work together on Office files, because this case really goes about how to work with Office files in a Google Drive environment. Imagine a situation where you work on an Excel file with people, a project manager in Africa, 2 people in the Americas, 1 in Europe, 1 in Asia. What we did in the past is you have one file server where your file is located, and then you grant access via either can be a virtual client, can be a Citrix connection, can be whatever. But you have only one location, which is not by default reachable for everybody. An alternative can be that you say, okay, we send an email to each other, but then of course the risk that after 5, 6, 7 mails you don't know anymore what's your final version. You need to have one assistant working full day to merge all the different files. You don't have any revision history, and so on and so on. So a lot of problems we faced until the day we actually switched and started using Google, and as such also Google Drive as a collaboration platform. Also, and important is with the mail part, if you go one step further and you work with Excel files, which are really linked with each other, by email, it doesn't work anymore. If they are not on the same location, your links don't work anymore. So all of that were problems we faced in the past. But once we switched then to Google, what we did actually is we stored, of course, all our files, our Office files, on the Google Drive. First, advantages already are available for everybody, independent of your location. If you're at home, if you're in an office, if you're in another region, everywhere you are, the files are and stay available for everybody. You don't need any additional software anymore to give access to some people in other locations, which is a default cost saving. You always have the latest version. You do have revision history. But of course stays the problem that what to do with your files which are linked with each other. You cannot make by default a link in Google Drive. Or if you want to make changes to your Excel files, for example, you need to download them first, make your changes, and upload them again. So to tackle all of that, what we have done is we make use of the default Google tools, like the Google Drive Sync, allowing you to download your Office files. At that moment, you can work with them. You no need to download your Office files anymore. You can work with them, you open them, make your changes, save them, they are automatically uploaded, and so on and so on. So all of that is already fixed. Next step is, of course, what to do with your links, because by default, Google Drive Sync is installed in your personal profile on your machine, which is different for everybody. So you cannot say we create a link from one file to another, because another person who is opening the same file, the link will not work because the location is different. So what we have done is we have created a virtual folder, what we have called default on your C drive, called Google Drive, which is actually a pointer to the Google Drive location on your machine, to the Google Drive Sync on your machine. Nothing more, nothing less, but it makes that every person who has that virtual link installed have by default on C Google Drive all his Office files located and downloaded offline. Which makes that if you have now a link from one file to another, you can always point and make your link to C Google Drive and then your file name, which is by default the same for everybody. There is no difference anymore. In the background, it's still nothing more than a virtual folder pointing to your real Google Drive location on your user profile within your machine. But for the link itself, you can always point back to your virtual location, which makes that wherever you are, in combination with Google Drive Sync, everybody can access the files, everybody can create the links, and what is more, you can also, if you have other software packages, like in our case, we are using Salesforce for CRM purposes, for example. Also from there, we make links to this C Google Drive location, where our Excel files in this case are stored. So you always have one location, the same for everybody, independent of where you are, which you can use to make links to other files, to make links from other software packages, for whatever purposes you need it. Although in the background, you still it's nothing more or less than a pointer to the relocation on your machine, where the Office files are then stored and synchronized with your Google Drive. To make it a bit more concrete, in this case, you have Google Drive by default installed on your favorites, which is in my user profile, with my directory here. What we then have done is we have on your C the Google Drive folder, where you see exactly the same folder structure, but this is nothing more than a pointer to your relocation. So what you do here, or what you open here, or what you open on your Google Drive in your favorites is exactly the same. It's one file, it's just a pointer from one location to the other location, which makes that all your links are the same. They are the same for every person, independent of where he or she is working. It's always the same principle. For the people that like to program a bit, this is more or less how we did it. It's just a VB script which is executing this code and which makes that you have the location available. But it's quite easy, it's straightforward, and in our case it saves not only a lot of money, but it saves also our problems of working with different files linked to each other via Google Drive, where people just work on their local machine. They have all the links, the files are linked with each other, everything is automatically synchronized, and everything is stored on Google Drive with the latest version, with version history, and so on and so on. I don't know if there are any questions on this. No.
We have a question from the audience that is viewing this event online. We have a question from Art, who is asking, how do you deal with Office files via Google Drive Sync? How do you manage revisions in case, for instance, 3 people are working on the same Office file?
Exactly, if they are working exactly at the same moment on the same Office file, at that moment it's stored with another name. So in that case, indeed, you still need to take action. But in general, and I must say, we use this now already for six months, almost 7 months, and we only had one case where this happened. So it really doesn't happen so much. Maybe in our case, it's also due to the fact that we are in different time zones, so that people not always work at the same moment. But yeah, we don't have it so often. But that's indeed the valid remark, where it can happen that if you work at the same moment on the same file, then you have 2 versions which are stored on Google Drive. That's correct. I don't know if there are other questions.
Okay, we have another question from Gayan Mahadu. He's asking, do you intend to move away from the Office suite and eventually only to use Google Drive?
No, we don't. Why not? Or at least we don't today. For the simple reason that there are still, certainly for Excel, functions and functionalities that we still need, which are available in Excel, which are not available or not yet available in Google Drive or in Google Sheets. So at this moment we don't, and that's also why we needed to have such a solution, because the moment you can do it on Google Sheets, of course, everybody works online, and then this is no longer a problem to work in this way. But as long as we are using Office, we will work this way, and we don't have any intention at the moment to make a switch. What doesn't mean that we are using Google Sheets, of course, also. But in some cases, we still use Microsoft Office files.
Do you keep control on the volume of data that is synchronizing to the clients?
Yes and no. We do have some recommendations. So what we saw in the beginning is that people moved 20, 30 gigabytes from their local file server up to Google Drive, shared that with 20 people, who then immediately downloaded everything offline. With, of course, performance issues and so on and so on. So we do have some recommendations now that if you have such huge capacity, that you do it or early in the morning or late in the evenings or during the weekends. If it's slower, it's fine. Once the data is downloaded, then you don't have, or we don't have any problem anymore, because then it's only files that you are uploading and downloading once you make changes. But indeed, Valentry Park, we had it also in the beginning. If you don't have any guidelines or any policies on this, you risk that people just transfer big data. So, but we have some guidelines for that.
Is all the data shared with everybody, or do you have certain groups of people that have access to it?
Only the data is only shared with people working in the project. So it really depends case by case. It's not that we say we upload a file server. Yeah. Not at all. We don't want to do that. We really upload the files which are project-based, and we share them with the people within the project that need to work on. Not with everybody. I would also not make sense because if everybody starts downloading, so just project-wise.
I seem to remember a couple of years ago there was a talk about a plugin for Office documents to Google Drive. Is this something maybe I lost track of that? Does that exist, or
maybe from Google can answer that?
The interoperability between Google and Office documents is high priority for us. So this is still work being carried out. I have nothing to announce.
The question was, did you search for that or try it? Why did you?
Well, not really. Again, certainly in the cases where we say with the links between each other, and we know we searched and we had contact with Google directly for that. There is today no option available to link files which are stored in Google Drive with one, let's say, virtual link. So, and that's why we went for this scenario. Just have a workaround. See it as a workaround that you can still have your linked files but stored on the Google Drive environment.
Solution for the
yeah, but there is nothing. There is no. Correct me if I'm wrong, but today the information we got is that there is no solution for that. It's not available.
Yeah, it used to be called Cloud Connect, but this one does not exist anymore. So if we may, we still have a question from the audience for Chris. There is somebody who is asking, do you back up local drives from devices? And if so, how do you deal with restoring the data?
We don't do backups locally. And in this case also it's in the cloud, so we have several solutions for that, but we don't back up the local data.
Yeah, and also another question is, do you prohibit the installation of Google Drive Sync for your employees, or is this something that is allowed for everybody?
It's by default allowed for everybody, but it's not by default installed for everybody. So if they want to use it, they can. It's free. We have what we call then our learning center, where everything about Google is available with a link also to download it. So it's available by default, but it's not installed by default. So we would like to avoid that everybody start using it with all the risks, of course. One thing we would like to change, and maybe that's a bit out of the topic, but I look to you now, is one problem we still have today is that by default, if you use it, by default, everything which is on your drive is by default downloaded. And it would be nice if it's the other way around, that people really need to select what they would like to download. Because what we have today is if there is a lot of data available in their own drive, and they download 30, 40 gigabytes, although they only need 5 Excel files, for example, then you still need to do some interaction, and that's something we would like to see different, but okay. I don't know if there are plans in that way for the moment. It's a good moment.
I'll check.
Starting to sweat.
Other other questions? No.
That's it from the audience, unless we still have questions from the people on site. I suggest that we continue with the subject.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Tom de Smet. He's technical architect at TVH, known for the spare parts for forklifts. And Tom will bring us the story on how TVH went from Lotus to a Google environment and how they fitted Drive into that transition and what role it plays and still, or played and still plays today. Tom.
So thank you for the introduction. So you already know who I am. So now maybe some details about the company I work for. So I work for TVH, which is a company that some of you might already know for forklift spare parts. But we do a lot more than that. We use the concept of a one-stop shop. So we offer forklift spare parts, but we also sell new second-hand forklifts, and we also rent forklifts, and we also repair them if they break. For agricultural equipment, we also do parts and accessories. We've been around for quite some time, and we have reached a number of 20,000 customers. We work with 4,000 employees, and as you can see on the map, we are all over the world in a representation. So to start the story on our Google Drive adventures and our Google Platform adventures, before entering Google, we were on a Lotus collaboration platform. So we used the Lotus suite, we used the regular Microsoft Office, and like for forms, for inquiries for our users, we used intranet. So for Lotus, we used the default mail and calendaring, but we also used a concept called team rooms. This is something that is specifically for Lotus, and this is some kind of a shared work repository where users can put their documents. We also made an extension to that shared repository, which we called Meeting Scheduler. This was some kind of a tool that is used for people where they can post topics on what they want to meet about, and after a meeting, the reports for the meetings also go in the Meeting Scheduler system. But I'll come back more in detail later on. So then we went on the Google platform, and for the most evident things like mail and calendar, that went Gmail and Google Calendar. For the team rooms and for our Microsoft Office, we used the Drive functionality of Google. And also for the forms which I was mentioning on our intranet, we use Google Forms, Documents, and Google Sites. So we had a lot of data that we needed to migrate to the Google platform. So as I was mentioning in the team rooms, there were a lot of documents, and we had to decide how to get them on the Google platform and in what format. So there we decided to convert our documents to the PDF format. And that was with a particular reason, that is, we wanted our users to have all their data available when they were entering the Google platform, but we also wanted to make sure that they would not keep working in their regular way of working. So we decided not to put the data there as Word documents, but we wanted to make sure that they would also start looking at the new functionalities that were available. So by providing a read-only format as PDF, we were sure that they were only going to consult the data and not edit it. And for the meeting scheduler system, we had to make a tough decision there, or we tried to use the standard Google tools, but this was some concept that was introduced and was also, a lot of users were already used to working with the meeting scheduler, and then we decided, okay, let's try to get this functionality within the Google platform by extending it. So we did. We made the meeting scheduler concept with Google Sites and AppScript. So maybe just to go into detail on what this meeting scheduler thing is, here you see the Google site which I was mentioning. Here people can add topics where they want to meet about. They can plan a date when they want their meeting to take place. And then for the meetings itself, for the list of topics that are available, the people can add specific topics to a specific meeting. So you have like a repository of open problems, and for a specific moment in time, you decide, okay, we want to meet about these topics. You can generate a schedule for your meeting, and you can, during the meeting, create annotations in Google Documents, and then after the meeting, you can generate a report and send the report to the users. So all the reports are on Google Drive, and they are just shared with your users. This was some kind of a custom development. So here you see an example of such a report. So our migration to Google provided us with a lot of challenges. So we had a functional change. We had how to get the data out of Lotus. What shall we do with the user rights of the currently existing content? The transfer volume of the content, and how would we provide the ownership within Google Drive itself. So there were a lot of challenges linked to change. I won't go into detail here. This is something that my colleague will mention later on. I will focus on the more technical challenges. So our first thing was we had our mail and we had our documents. So how were we going to get our data out of the Lotus environment? So there we had to invest some research in what formats can we use to get our data out of Lotus. So a lot of energy went in there. There were, for us, no tools available because of our custom development. So this was something that we created ourselves. We created tools using the Google APIs to get the data then back on the Google platform. Then there were also challenges to the volume of data. So if you have a lot of data that you want to migrate, or you can migrate it in one shot and make sure that you have enough resources, or you can spread it over time. And for our migration of our documents, we took the approach to spread it over time. So there we did not need the high network bandwidth that you would need when you would push all your data in one moment. We did a migration that went over several months. This was custom development. There we bumped into something some of you might already know, which is the Google API exponential backup mechanism. This might be relevant for some of you. This is a mechanism that makes sure that you don't overload the Google servers. So you can send data to Google, but at a certain point in time, Google will say stop. Now you have to back up for a while, and then you can send data again. This is built in most of the APIs. So if you would require it, you could find extra info on that. So then we had to decide the user rights of the migrated content. So we tried to get the rights from our Lotus platform and bring the same rights within Google. And there we bumped into a strange issue, which I certainly want to talk about. This is the rights mechanism that is used in Google is fundamentally different of the rights issue that is used in Windows, like for shared folders. I was mentioning that we had a lot of data that we needed to put on the Google platform. And so we started to put rights on that large amount of data, and then the Google platform froze because of the way we put the data there. So what we actually did was we started to set rights on folders which had a lot of content on the individual folder. So what actually needs to happen is the user rights have to get propagated on every object of a folder. So here you see an example of what I'm talking about. you have a folder hierarchy, and for example, you want to put user rights for user C on the whole document tree, and what is actually happening, you put user C on every object. When you use another approach to this, and instead of putting rights on user level, you put rights on group level, you have a totally different picture. For example, if we are looking at the same document tree, and your rights are on group Q, and you want, for example, to add user C within group Q, then you don't have to propagate throughout the whole structure. You only have to mutate one group entry. And this is really, really important. What I'm talking about at TVH site was user propagations that took like, I don't know, 24 hours for propagating through a tree of content. So for everybody that is facing this problem, please use groups as much as possible. This was some peculiarity, and it's this is the solution on how to tackle it. So now I would like to talk a bit on how we use Google Documents for the moment within TVH. We use them as report for our meeting scheduler, which I already mentioned. And we're also looking, this is new development, it's not already in production, but it's a concept that I would like to share with you. We also like to use documents as attachments within our application. This means, for example, in our TVH application, you get, for example, a customer complaint, or you get some kind of a document that you want to add within an application. Normally, this is a Office document that you upload, but now with the Google system, we want to attach Google documents within our application. And we have done an integration where you have the possibility within the Chrome browser to attach a document in a certain screen. The same concept is for help files. For example, we want our users to be able to manage their help files themselves. So we have a big in-house application, and a lot of the functionality is coming from the end users. And they have the most knowledge on the application, so they have the capability to write help files. And we want them to start working on a Google document, and for a certain screen in our application decide, okay, we want to use this document as help. And as you can see here on the screen, you open a Google document, and you have an extra button where you can add specific functionality to do something in our in-house application. So for example, here this document, by clicking on the button and selecting the menu option, you have the possibility to add this document within the TVH application as help file. So next time you press F1, this document will pop up. We also use Google Drive as a data storage. So as everybody knows, if you have to buy enterprise storage, this is very expensive. If you look at the documents that you have within your company, you have documents that are of vital importance, and you also have documents that live within the company and that are less important. So you have your Google platform available, which means you have a huge amount of storage, which might not be used completely. So our intention is to use the storage as much as possible. So there are a lot of users that have documents on their local machines, and we want to extend the storage to Google Drive. So using Google Drive as a kind of a backup mechanism for the local storage on the PCs itself. So we have there the benefits that you have a global availability for all your content. You have global accessibility, and your data is redundant. So you have less important documents that are on your drive that are on Google storage, so you have them in two different places. Some other application that we developed is an application, a custom application that we call Enterprise Search. So we use Google as some kind of a mechanism to have capabilities to search all the content within the company. So I mentioned that we uploaded all the content of our local machines to the Google Drive environment. So by using the search capabilities, you can find every document within the whole company. We also have made an application which we called generic search. This is an application that is used for our technical data. So at our company, we have a lot of technical books on forklifts, for example, technical manuals and things like that. And we want to have a mechanism where you have the possibility to easily find information for a specific manual where you want to do maintenance on. So Google Drive provides the functionality to do searching, but for us this was not enough. We require not only to search on content, but we also want to search on extra metadata for a book. Like, for example, you have a book that is dealing with a forklift of Toyota with a specific model. There you would want to search first, I have this make, then I have this model, and then I want to search on specific content. So what we did there is we used Google as a visualization for your content. We used Google as the repository that can serve all your content and that provides your content globally. But the search index was something that we put locally in our own system. This was with Apache Solar. So all our PDFs are served from the Google platform, but the metadata on how to find them is in a local index. So here you see a screenshot of the application that I'm talking about. So for example, you can do a search on different criteria. So you can specify which machine you want to search data about, and then you specify a specific search term, and you see a results bar, and from that results bar you can visualize the actual document, which is a document that is coming from Google Drive. You can also see that the search terms are highlighted and that the right page with the content is shown. So this has been created with a Chrome extension mechanism. There are other Google integrations that we have done. We had the store to drive functionality before it was actually provided by Google itself. So this was to store not only attachments for emails, but also the emails themselves. And we have done a lot of other developments that might be also interesting for Google to provide to us. This is, we had a click-to-call integration with our local call system. We have a meeting room planner system, which you see here, where we have used Google tablets at our meeting rooms for meeting room planning and for meeting room reservations. So for example, if you want to have a meeting at a room, you go to the room, you see that someone is in there, you can see what the meeting is about, how long it will take, and you can also from that room immediately do reservation for another room. So, and then walk to the other room and hold your meeting. So this is something new, and this is also something that people at our site are very excited about. And we also have some functionality which is called Meet About This, which you can do on an email. So if somebody sends you an email, I explained the meeting scheduler mechanism that we use. If you want to add an email as a topic for a meeting, you click on the Meet About This button, and then it's automatically put in the meeting scheduler. So that was my story. So I don't know if there are questions on this.
This meeting scheduler, could you tell us how long it took to develop it, roughly, precisely?
Well, I think it was quite long. So it was not developed as a single running project. So the person that was actually developing it was also doing other tasks. But I think that it was like in the period of 1 month. But the problem was not only that you had to develop the system, but you also had to learn all the APIs. So to say if you would have a trained person, how long that would take would be difficult.
So maybe an additional question, if one of the other customers would like to implement it, how would they do it? But, you know, would it take, how long do you think it would take, or how easy would they be able to replicate it?
If you start from 0, I would maybe estimate 1 month. This was quite labor intensive because there were details that might not be obvious on first sight, like for example parsing data to add templates and stuff like that. So it's really reading out the documents, getting the sites up, writing the app script. I think it was like 1 month.
Another question: you have a lot of documents in Google Drive. You're doing that enterprise search on it. How fast is it?
As I was mentioning, the enterprise search of our generic, I don't know, is it the enterprise search of our generic search solution? So for generic search, where our index is used locally, this goes quite fast. But for real enterprise search, we have a lot of content in the Drive environment itself. And this is the search capabilities of Google themselves, and they are lightning fast. Yeah, so it's we have the impression that there is no relation between the amount of content and the search that you carry out. So it's perfect.
Told that everything was written as a Chrome extension. So you make an extension on the Chrome browser for your solution. But that's correct.
So we use the different mechanisms that are available. We use Chrome extensions, we use Google Gadgets, we use AppScript where applicable. We try to avoid the Chrome extension mechanism where we have other options, because we also realize the dangers of the Chrome extension mechanism. The dangers are if Google decides to change actually pages where you embed your functionality into and you rely upon certain structure elements. If Google changes that, it breaks your applications. So before we decide for a certain functionality that we want to create it as a Chrome extension, we consider the consequences if it would break. So like for this meeting scheduler, if Google would change functionality that would break our meeting scheduler, that would be annoying, but it would not disrupt the functioning of our company to such an extent that, for example, we would not have the time to fix it. Or if something would have been changed on Google itself, we would have the time to fix our solution with the Chrome extension. But your remark is certainly correct. It gives you the possibility to do everything within the platform, but on the other hand, you have to decide very well where you use it for, because if Google changes something, it might break your application.
You have to continue using Chrome, don't use another browser.
Indeed, yeah, but this was something that maybe I did not mention. We have decided strategically to use Google Chrome within our company for its speed, for its stability, for its security features. So everybody has Chrome deployed. These are applications that are used within our company. So this was a decision that we could take to do development like that. But if you would want to use it in a company where you use other policies, this would indeed be a problem.
Are you looking at the newly available add-on capabilities in Docs and Sheets, and whether that could tie in?
Yes, we are certainly looking into that, but I won't go too much in detail because this is a part of the presentation of my colleagues. Okay. So, if there are no questions anymore, thank you then.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Next in line is Koen Bosmans from Melexis and myself, and we will bring a use case on how to organize events using Google Drive tools. Koen from Melexis is now, it's a very long title, it's Senior Administrator, Senior System Administrator and Service Desk Lead. And me, I am one of the members of our innovation team at VDAB. Koen, I'm going to let you start, sir.
Okay, so you already pronounced me. Okay. This is the initial slide, so let's go to the Melexis slide. So, who is Melexis? Maybe a lot of you have heard of Melexis. So, what do we do? So, who are we? So, we are a manufacturer of integrated circuits and sensors. That's the official title. Mainly for the automotive industry. All the things you have in your car, all the car electronics, a lot of these things can possibly be ours. And today we can say, luckily, that we have at least 6 items, 6 products that we have in each of your cars today. If you have a modern car, an old time, that's not the case, of course. Who am I in the story? Well, I'm located in Belgium. We have 2 sites in Belgium. One in Tessenderlo, one in Yper. I'm located in Tessenderlo because it's close to my home. That's easy, of course. But you see, we're quite spread all over the world. Well, some of them are sales offices. They're not quite big. And a lot of them are mainly in Europe, where the manufacturing is and these kind of things. That's it. But why am I talking here? We did a global LAN party in Melexis. And you would think, what the hell? A global LAN party, what has that to do with Google Drive? We'll try to explain that later on. Why a global LAN party? It was a long story. I'm working for Melexis already for 15 years. And we have a lot of technical people. People who work a lot, usually work a lot with computers and these kind of things. And you know, probably a lot of you as well, like to play games. And they ask IT, hey, can't we do a LAN party, a local LAN party or something like that? We say, oh, no, we don't really know what that is allowed in these kind of things. Yeah, that grow, and yeah, sometimes you hear it again, it popped up and these kind of things. Then a colleague of me and myself, we decided, well, let's give it a try. Let's try a global Melexis LAN party. So we have a nice wide area network. Let's make it global. It's also one of the key motivations in Melexis because we're a global company, and it's very difficult to make teamwork and collaboration in these kind of things. You know, if you are working in a global organization, they will stimulate you in making things like this. So we decided, yeah, let's start. We tried to arrange some things, and luckily we got approval from the CEO. They said, okay, go for it. Just make sure that production sites were not affected, because it was late in the evening that we would start. Well, we absolutely had no idea where to go to, because it was the first time we did a global event. There's another global event in Melexis, which is the Melexis Triathlon, but that's Europe global, let's call it like that. Yeah, we don't know what tools are we going to use. And we need scalable solutions. Why we need scalable solutions? Will we have a lone gamer, or do we have possibly 1,000 gamers, because we're more or less with 1,000 people in Melexis? Will we have the hardcore gamers or the casual gamers? So what decisions do we have to make? We don't know. And therefore, yeah, we need to have tools that we can reach to people and get feedback from people and do a lot of these things. The event, the only end target that we had was Friday the 13th. Luckily, today is also the Friday the 13th, I noticed this morning. But this was December, Friday the 13th of 2013. Flexible tool selection we need, because we need to scale from 1 person to 1,000 persons. So how could we do this? So we selected Google Applications for that, because we're already a Google Apps customer since 2009, more or less. So long time customer. And we started to communicate. First, we made some teaser slides. We have screens on most of the sites in the canteens. And we put some teasers there to let people ask themselves, hey, what is this? What is going on? And after a while, we revealed what it was, that there was a LAN party and everybody was cheering and these kind of things. You will see that later on. Then we launched the event officially. We made a Google form, which is part of Google Drive, also teamed in the same way, where we have the rules and regulations, and they have to agree with the rules and regulations, because, yeah, you're still working in a company. not everything is allowed. Like, for example, only company hardware was allowed, only games which were open source and these kind of things, because we had no budget at all. Then we started a Google community in Google+. This was, well, a closed community, so we as organizers invited the people who could participate, so that was based on the form we saw earlier. And you see it was a quite vibrant environment, people were posting some things there and a lot of things. It was the central place for communication, so everything that we did was communicated here, only to the members, not to disturb the people in the company who were not interested, because usually it happens like this. Yeah, you send out a mail to all your organizations, and then 10,000s of mails of updates and these kind of things where nobody is interested in. So we made it quite closed. Well, to organize games, you need to have games, of course, and also manuals. So we made them in Google Docs, which was nice, of course, because we could, with organizers, we could collaborate together to create these documents. Some were trying out the manuals themselves, others were adding pictures and these kind of things. So we did this for every game, manuals, guidelines, and these kind of things, what was needed. At the event itself, we needed to do scheduling, of course, and this was one of the competitions that we did. It was for Open Arena, some of you will know this. And yeah, you need a ladder structure of this, and people could, that's the power of Google Apps, of course, Google Drive as well, that everybody who is part of the community in this case could see on this sheet when he was planned and in which game he should be. So all the documents are available to everyone you share it with, so everybody can see it. You can update it live, and they will see it live at the event itself, which is a very powerful tool, of course, when you organize things. Later on, we could do complex scheduling. You see there were a lot of other games that we played, yeah, timings and these kind of things that was very difficult to do. But all the changes that we did same thing. People could follow here live what was going to change. Even at the event, we could update the planning where it needed. And like for example, here was a poker tournament going on. We did, and people could see who was going to the next round there as well. Another important thing. Well, we now know more or less how many people we have in our community. But yeah, what do they want to play? Yeah, do we have, like I said, the casual hardcore gamer or the casual gamers? So we decided, yeah, how many games we will have. You can see them here, a bunch of games there. And people who were subscribed, and then people could decide which games they want to play. Which one they want to play just for fun, free play, or in competition mode. So we selected some games for competition mode. And they can also put for themselves in which group they want to play. Well, on the end, we decided to play side by side. That was a little bit more fun to do, but we'll change that maybe in the future. Note that this document was shared with everybody, and everybody had access to this document to write on it, to at least these fields there. This was very powerful because as soon as I communicated this document, everybody got an email that there was a new post on the community, and you see everybody jumping in a document at the same time, and you see the X's going everywhere and changing things and these kind of things. Well, note for the ones who are going to share documents with many people, there is a limitation in Google Docs where you can, well, the amount of people you can share it with. It's around 40, I think, 50. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's something like that. I don't know. But we work with a lot more. But the benefit of this is that, well, these 40 people, let's say 40, are able to edit the document, but all the others who are already viewing the document can see the document. And when there's a position free, they can edit as well later. So after a while, after a very short time, we had a full schedule. Well, we knew immediately who was interested in what, and we could build our complex schedule, which was here on the background. Then on the end of the evening, scoreboarding, also important, of course. So we decided to give points to every game for the competition. Yeah, and you need to distribute that as well. Well, we did it exactly in the same way. We took a spreadsheet, we shared it with everybody. We even beamed it on the walls on every side who was playing it, and they could see live the scores evolving. So one of the sites gains some points on the competition, you see the bar going live up and all these kind of things, which is very nice, of course. But you have live scoreboarding. One advice, if you want to go global, like in our case, go Google, because it's extremely flexible. So we could go from 1 person to 1 million persons if needed, and you see, like we did with no effort at all, or with a low amount of effort, we had organized games for many people at the same time. I will show you now some pictures of the event, if the beamer allows it a little bit. This was from Switzerland. We also asked the sites to team a little bit their site. Well, you'll see some sites are better than others. There should be 4 people in here. This is from the center itself, where I was located. There were a lot more people on there. There were about 40 people, I think, in the center who were joining. This was from Sofia in Bulgaria. You see, we also have girls, if you can see the image there. We also had girls joining us. We even had management joining the competitions as well, so which was fun. This is from Erfurt in Germany. Quite a lot of people there as well. And you see, yeah, that's on the next picture, I think. This is again Switzerland, a little bit better view. But as you see, this is inside a Hangout. So we also enabled Hangouts, and we beamed the Hangout on every site. So you could see an overview of each site. Well, the site you can see all the sites at the same time. So you see here the Central, Erfurt, and these kind of things. And well, you could browse through the sites and see how it's going there. You could communicate. You could wave in front of the camera. Even the voice was on, so you could see some different things. And for that, we also used the Hangout to do announcements. So the competition is starting. We just put our headset on. We say something, and it was broadcasted on all the sites, which is really, really fun to do. On the end, the winner gets a cup, our official Melexis Global LAN Party Championship Chip Cup. It's an exchange cup, so if we want to do future events, then they have to get to another site if another site wins. It was a huge success. We had about more than 140 participants in the games. Back then we were with, I think, 900 people in Melexis. These days it's growing a little bit more. Extremely happy employees because they finally had their global LAN event. And there was also a huge amount of interest from other people because they suddenly saw, hey, this is a quite nice event. They had a lot of enthusiastic people there. It opened some minds for some people as well. Raised interest, yeah, like I just said, people were very interested in what's going on here with this event. It's getting quite popular. We got extremely good feedback from management, from all the sites, mainly on the collaboration, the teamwork, that people could play together, communicating a lot with each other, so which is very good. And they said, do it again. Yeah, I didn't tell it in the beginning, but officially we were allowed to do it. We were not allowed to spend a lot of time during working hours on it. Now they're telling us, do it again. So this is always positive for us. And this year we will start doing it again. The first communications have started, and this year it will be held in October somewhere. But we will do some automations. As you have seen, we have used the standard tools of Google applications, or of Google Drive, and you see how far you can get with that. But of course, I'm an IT person, and the rule of an IT person is you do it once, the next time you automate. And that's what we're going to do. So we're going to automate the subscriptions so that most of the things go automatically, like auto-inviting participants based on the competition schedule. So if they join the event, that automatically say, okay, I want to play these games, and that there's a schedule built from that. And of course, this year, we have been discussing on that. It's not 100% sure yet that we're going to do it, but we're going to do it like this event, Hangout on Air, so that all of you can join the LAN party from 2014. That is it. These are my slides. If people have questions, please feel free to ask. Yeah.
Why didn't you do the Google form for the instead of putting everything?
Yeah, we have been thinking on that, but I couldn't get the results that I wanted it. I wanted to really have it look like I had it shown here in the picture, because I could easily do the calculations for the games and the maximum amount of people. And well, with the amount but the thing that formed post in a spreadsheet, it didn't came like I wanted it to. On the end, it probably was possible, but this was much easier for me. Other questions or not? No, it's quite clear.
Okay.
Okay, so like everybody else, I'm going to start off with a short introduction of myself and my company. As I already said, I am a member of the Innovation Lab at VDAB, within our IT department. And in the Innovation Lab, we do proof of concept, where we test out if a certain technological trend or possibility could mean something, could have added value for VDAB. An example of that is big data, to name a very big one, or it could be as small as appointment slots. Could this mean something for our business? Speaking of the company, most of you probably know that VDAB is the Flemish public employment service, and we represent about 1,700 employees spread over 170 locations all over Flanders. When you look at our target groups, it's of course the plus 200,000 job seekers, and seen from the employer side, you have the 715,000 job offerings that we get in our databases yearly. And there's also the aspiration that we want to reach out to the 4 million active working people in Flanders. So what do we offer? Our main mission, of course, is job mediation and coaching of job seekers. But we also offer vocational training, of course, for those people that still lack some competencies and that need training. And over the last several years, we've also developed 2 extra services, which is the career guidance or counseling for the employed. And we offer, since I think the beginning of this year, I'm not sure, the opportunity for everybody to have a personal development plan created within our systems. But that's enough about VDAB. Why did we, as VDAB, need a registration system for events? What are the use cases? First use case, of course, is when we organize online or local training or information sessions with a limited or restricted number of seats. And this was actually the first time the business came to us. It was the business need that they came to us, I think it was during Google Plus rollout, and they said, proceeding to the Google Plus rollout company-wide, we want to organize a number of webinars to prepare our employees for Google Plus. And it was, Fallon, correct me if I'm wrong, it was before you could have a planned hangout on air. So what they wanted an easy way for people to register for the online webinars, and they wanted an easy way for people to find out which webinar took place when. And for that, they wanted an overview page, an HTML overview page they could integrate into our Google site, which is called the Wolkenwinkel Cloud Shop. And this is the place where everybody finds everything that's new on Google Apps, all the manuals. And there we had a link that then leaded the people to the overview page that generated automatically into the Google site, and people could see, okay, that webinar is full, that webinar has already passed, and stuff like that. And since that, we've been using the system also for externally for job seekers to offer local trainings on different topics. The second use case why we need a registration system is, of course, for public events. This could be a job fair or a job dating. But the example I chose to speak about was the award-winning ceremony for a student competition that we organized for 2 years now, called Create Your Digital Job Advisor, where we ask IT students to create an app to look for work their way. And it's a bit of crowdsourcing that we try to do. And at the end, there's a ceremony. I see that the pictures are not really coming through very well. There's an award-winning ceremony, and everybody could register to be present at that using the system. Now, how did we get to the present or the current system that I'm going to demo later on? We took it one step at a time, actually. At first, and this is more or less like what Koen talked about, people just used the tools in Google as is, with the automation that's there, and they do subscriptions using a form, then they copy all the email addresses into an email or appointment, they send it out, and you create a logical workflow. Of course, not as complex as what the people of Melexis did, because that's, I think, it's a great accomplishment, but it was just for the smaller events that we used it. Then our version 1.1 of the system was created, tailor-made to the specific needs of that one business project, which is the webinars I just talked about. And if you tackle the development that way, it gives you the opportunity to develop something very quickly. I think Tommy spent 2 days on developing the system, and then you can test it out and learn and build upon the lessons learned for your next version, which is the version that I will demo. And that version was tailor-made or was adapted and further automated so we could use it for all our use cases. So version 1.1, which I call, because it's the old version, that's why I use George Clooney, the old bugger. You can't really see that it's Batman. And this was made in the previous version of Google Sheets. It only had limited automation, so there was an automatic calculation of the available seats that was pushed to the overview page, and there was an automatic feed from a master sheet with all the information on the event to the HTML overview page. But we got feedback from the users. They said, well, it's still a bit complex for us, for just the normal, not IT-minded person in the company. If we want to organize an event, there's several steps we have to do. We have to feed all the cells of the master sheet manually, and there was a lot of room for error. And for example, what they had to do, they had to create the form, create a response sheet, then paste the link to the form into a cell. They had to go and copy a formula to calculate the seats and put them in a cell, and so on and so on. So it was very time consuming for them, but not only for the event organizer, but also for our back office. Each time a new user wanted to use the system, all the files necessary had to be copied to his Google Drive, and then the script to push all the information to the overview page had to be implemented there, and it took Tommy, I think 20 minutes, 25 minutes. So there was a lot of room for improvement. And that's why we got to a version 1.2, and actually the picture is even worse. It's a very nice picture about that. And the new version, we had the advantage that it was created in the new Google Sheets, which allows you to develop something with the Google add-on. And I'll go more into detail later, and you'll see the demo will be self-explanatory on that. There's a lot more automation. There was the subscription form that was created automatically. The overview page is created automatically. People that subscribe get an automatic confirmation, and they get an appointment. And there's the possibility to have automatic reminder emails before the event on 1, 2, 7, 5 days before you can choose. So, as I said, because you use a Google add-on, there's a lot less room for error by the event organizer. He just has to fill in the designated fields, click on the right buttons, and it's easy peasy. And there's also easy deployment for all users by the Google Help Desk. You create the add-on, you deploy it on your domain, and from that moment, in any spreadsheet, any user can just install the add-on and start using it. But I suggest we go to the demo itself. I'm going to relocate for that. So what you see here is an already pre-filled master spreadsheet, but you have to imagine, we pre-filled it for the demo purposes, you have to imagine this is just an empty, ordinary spreadsheet in Google. And then what a user has to have to do is he goes to the tab Add-ons, Get Add-ons. He can go to the add-ons for his specific domain, and normally, this is still in beta, he would find the Google add-on there, install it, give the permissions, and from that moment, under his installed add-ons, he finds the event add-on, clicks on start, and the first thing that happens is a little menu pops out with 4 buttons. Make the event, make web page, add guest, remove event. I'm going to go in further detail about the 3 last buttons later, but let's just dive into make event. At that moment, you get all the information that you have to put in, just designated fields. You follow it, no room for error. You don't have to go twinkle and change into the file. But for the demo now, I'm just going to do a quick create event based on a selected row. All the information gets pre-filled. It's something we build in because a lot of the times if you have to create a lot of events with more or less the same content, then it's a quick way to do the input. I'm quickly going to just change this into 2 for the demo purposes and change the end date and the starting date. Going to leave the start time and the end time. Then, as you can see, there's a possibility to put in a deadline for the inscription. So from that moment on, people will no longer be able to subscribe using the form. You can put the amount of places, the restricted number that you want, the location, put a little description, and if you have several types of events that you put on this page, you can add a category. Then you can select the fields that you want the people to fill in on your subscription form. There's several that we provide within the add-on. I only will click one, which is name, but you can also add family name, company, birth date, telephone number, school. The school is because of the award-winning ceremony that we organized. You choose an agenda, and then you have the opportunity to choose if you want a reminder 1 to 5 or 7 days before the event, send out by email to people. Then you click on make the event, and then the add-on does its magic. You'll see that in a few seconds. There it is. You have the new event all ready to go. And what has happened already? The subscription form here, a link to it, is in the master spreadsheet. Also, the response sheet is over there. And within the Google Drive folder, what has happened is there's a new folder of the event organizer. There's a new folder called Event System. And there, for every event, you find the specific documents, the form. If you want to, you can add other fields or questions that you want to be asked at subscription there, and you find all the responses there. Let's get back. So that's to create your event. If we go back to the menu, we saw there were still 3 other buttons over there. The one, make web page, is actually one you only use the first time that you use your master spreadsheet or your event system, and you want to create the HTML page to publish all the results. If you click on it, what happens is in Google Drive, you get a folder global with all the scripting and all the information necessary to push all the info to the HTML page. And this link to the overview page comes at the right end of the add-on. This is how the outline overview page or the overview page looks. And you see all the events that are in the master spreadsheet are over there. You can already see this is an event from which the deadline has passed, so they can no longer subscribe. If the event is full, they get a message that it's full, of course. And then for our event that we just created, we can still subscribe. What's important is that if you have a lot of events there, we have a selecting mechanism, and then you can immediately find the one you need. The information we put in the description file can be found here, and also everybody can always see I should not select that, the date until which they can subscribe if they don't want to do it immediately. And if you then subscribe, I'm going to quickly demo that. I'm not a fast typer, so you'll have to be patient. So what happens? I registrate, they say thank you for registering, and you'll receive a confirmation email soon. This is the account. And here you go. I have subscribed myself. I get an email. It's not just an email, it's an appointment. I can accept it. It says if you accept it, it's a confirmation of your subscription. There's all the info over there on the event, and there's a link to automatically unsubscribe. But now that I did that, if we go back to the overview page, you will see that the number went from 10 to 9 because I subscribed. If I now unsubscribe, of course, I get the message that I've been unsubscribed successfully, and in the overview page, the number of free or available places goes up automatically. I think that speaks for itself. Now, there's only two buttons left to explain, and everybody that organizes events knows that even if the deadline has passed or if your event is full, there's still people that want to come to your event. It could be Fons Leroy, my big boss, who telephones me and he says, well, I don't care if your event is full. It's Bruce Willis. It's the first Batman. He wants to come to our event. Make sure that he can come. So what you do at that moment is that you just click the Add Guest button. The add-on will open. You add his email address and his name. He will also receive the appointments, and if so everything automatically is in order, and you will find him in the response sheet as you want it. And then there's only one button left, but that is self-explanatory. And that is, if you want to clean up your overview page, because there's too many, you can just select the row that you no longer want to be published on your overview page. You click on Remove Event, and then, oops. It's gone as if it never existed. But of course, all the information on the event, like who subscribed, who was present, is still in your Google Drive, so you can send out evaluation forms to them if you want to, and stuff like that. I think that's all that I wanted to say. I don't know if there are questions about the demo. Yes?
Just to understand it correctly, the thing you showed us,
the add-on, yeah.
It's something that you developed, so it's not standard in the Google system. No,
it's something that we at VDAB, we thought about how could we tackle this problem, what features should be in there, and Tommy, who is here from Capgemini, developed it for us. So if there's technical questions for people, you can later ask him how he tackled certain problems or how we did it. And at this moment, it's something that we will deploy within our domain at VDAB. So it will be available for all our employees. Another question? No questions? Okay, then we're at our last presentation, and last but not least is Petra Verduin. She is support IT advisor at TVH, and she's a colleague of Tom. And Petra, her presentation will be on how and if we can use Google Drive as an office replacement soon. Go ahead, Petra.
Thank you.
That's the wrong.
Is that the wrong presentation? Okay. Okay, good afternoon. My name is Petra Verduin, and I work at TVH. I don't need to present TVH to you. My colleague Tom de Smet has already done that for me this afternoon. What I do at TVH is I am an IT support advisor, and I'm also responsible for a lot of the end-user training, well, regarding IT, that is. So I have a lot of experience and interaction with end users. At TVH, I'm also responsible for all Google Apps administration. We now have almost 2,000 users. Today I will be talking to you about how we use Google Drive, so the docs, the sheets, and the presentations, and eventually if we can replace Microsoft Office by that. So how did we start? Well, we have some experience with a mixed environment. So in the past, we have already tried everything, I have to say. We have used Lotus Symphony, OpenOffice, followed by LibreOffice. Some of our users even got the Microsoft Office viewers instead of the regular Office, and of course, a small percentage has Microsoft Office. And as we all know, if you ask an end user, what do you want? They all want the full Microsoft Office suite. But are they really using it? Well, at TVH, we already knew that they weren't. And a couple of weeks ago, we got a study in our mailbox which proves our findings that end users are really using an Office suite for a couple of minutes a day. And most of them are even only using it for viewing purposes. So they get an email, they get an attachment, they open it, they read it, and it's gone. So with that mixed environment, we have learned some lessons. I would say we won't do it again. There are a lot of differences. There are differences in file extensions, in how certain formulas behave. Some functionalities are lacking or are different in different programs. Some of these programs were not always stable, so we had to stop using them. And change is never easy. But if you take, for example, Microsoft Office away from a user, then it's really difficult, and we really underestimated the impact of that change to our end users. And last but not least, our support team. It was not easy for them to support all those different programs for Office use. So we recently took the decision to limit us to 2 possibilities. We now only have Microsoft Office and LibreOffice. Microsoft Office covers less than 40% of our users, and all the rest automatically get LibreOffice. So end users have to ask their management directly if they can have a license for Microsoft Office, and if management approves, then they will get the license, and otherwise there is no more choice between other programs. They have to use LibreOffice. But then we went Google. Last year in March, we changed to Google Apps, and we went from Lotus Notes. And then we also had Google Drive automatically added for our end users. So at first, our main focus was only on the mail and on the calendar. So we even only provided end user training for mail and calendar. We were not planning on using Google Drive initially. But we were using team rooms in Lotus Notes, and there was a lot of data stored in those team rooms. And we didn't want to lose that data, but we did not want to keep Lotus Notes alive just for team room purpose. So we created a structure on Google Drive on several generic users, and we migrated all those documents to that structure. That's also something that Tom explained before. And for many users, that was already an introduction to Google Drive. They had to go to that, we still call it a team room. They had to go to that folder on Drive, to that team room, to look for their data. So, and then they saw that there were possibilities, and that they could add documents to it, and that they could continue working with that folder structure and things like that. So people became aware of the possibilities on Drive. And so even if we were not planning on using Google Drive, well, our end users kind of decided for us. Let's also not forget that some of the end users were already using Google Apps at home, and they knew about Google Drive, and they brought that to the company as well. And this makes our current situation something like this. So we have Microsoft Office, we have LibreOffice, but as an extra layer on top of that, every user now also can use Google Drive. So what are the advantages for us for using Google Drive? Well, it's availability. And users, for example, now can choose to use Google Drive when they want to. They don't have to go and ask their manager, can I have a license for this? Can I please use it? So it's available. They have mail, they have calendar, they have Drive, they can use it. It's available on all platforms. They can use it at home, they can use it on holiday, on a business trip. There's no deployment, no updates. Everybody is always automatically up to date. And there are some great features. There are offline apps in the browser, but also new offline apps for the smartphones. Quick Office is also a really handy app. If you have a look at it, you would see a lot of benefits. Collaboration is really a big thing. So end users are now asking explanation about Google Drive to us because they want to use it for collaboration. So when you can work together in one file with different people, that's a really, really great benefit. So there is no different versions of documents. Everybody is always working on the latest version, and you can see in revision history who changed what, so no problems there. And the add-ons have been a great help to us. They are quite recent, but we can now offer extra features to the Google Drive apps, like a mail merge, like a duplicate remover. So questions that end users asked me a couple of months ago, how can I do this, how can I do that? Well, they can now be explained or can now be solved by giving them a simple add-on to their docs or spreadsheets. Maybe a small tip in between, well, have a look or have somebody of your support team or the training team have a look at the add-ons for spreadsheets and docs and make a selection yourself that you can offer to your end users. So you can decide, well, for our company, a mail merge, a duplicate remover, tracking changes, all those things are quite interesting. So end users don't have to look for it themselves, and they have a communication or an email about it, and they will be happy to use them. You really, really, really need to set up a training plan if you start on using Google Drive. We did not, because we didn't intend on using Drive initially, but it's catching up on us, and we get a lot of questions, and you really need to set up a training plan. Why? Well, first, colleagues are starting to use Drive. So one person can, for example, say, oh, I will not use Drive, but the person next to it creates a document, shares it with that colleague, and that colleague really has to know what to do with it. What is this? How can I work on it? What are the consequences? There are different types of documents that can exist on Google Drive. Maybe for us it's quite easy, but an end user doesn't always understand the difference. For example, by a Word document that is uploaded and that is not available for collaboration, and that you have to download or sync somewhere to be able to work on it. And for example, a Google Doc that is not taking up quota space and is available for collaboration. So when you explain that to them, they will be happy to use it. We are using the web interface of Google Drive, so there is no sync to local hard drives or whatsoever. So everything is in the cloud. Users also need to understand what that concept is, but maybe an easy termination. Google Apps keeps on changing, keeps on improving, new functionalities are coming, and you need to keep your users informed. Otherwise, they get a little bit frustrated if they arrive in the morning, well, especially the not power users, let me say, and something has changed, and they don't get an email what they can do and how they can solve it. So that's really important for your user acceptance. Okay. My colleague Tom already went into detail, so I won't, but Google Drive has a complex sharing model. So they need to understand that better share with groups than with individual persons. They also have to understand that there is one owner of a document and only that owner can delete that document. And the shared with me view, what is that? I always get questions, how can I clean out the shared with me view? Because there are a lot of documents there that I don't need and I want them removed. So you need to explain that. What we did is provide an already made template on a generic user. Well, we have 10 of those generic users. Our old team rooms are on them, but also new folders that have been added. Then you can give the users the rights they need, the groups the rights they need, and end users can add that automatically to their drive, which makes it easier to move files around or to keep on adding to that model. And the organization of files is also a little bit of a topic. One document can exist in multiple folders, so when you are the owner of a document, you have to realize if I remove it from one place, it will be deleted in the other one. But that's something that already existed in Lotus Notes and Team Rooms. We have that same functionality, so our end users are already, they already know how that works. How do we train our end users? Well, we have instruction videos. We don't use the instruction videos that Google provides. Sorry for that. We have made our own. We have made TVH-specific movies without sound, of course, with subtitles, because we couldn't provide everybody with correct headphones and things like that. We made subtitles in 3 languages. And these instruction videos are always available, and users can even watch them at home. So they don't have to have a look at the whole Google training. They can pick out one movie, let's say 2 minutes or 4 minutes, and look into one topic. We have 50 Google ambassadors. Those people we train classically, and we give extra training. And those people are able to communicate to their colleagues what has changed. If we implement something new, we always test it with the Google ambassadors first, and after a while, then we present it to the big public. And we also make a tip of the day. Tip of the day can be if we get a lot of the same questions, that something is not clear. It can also be when something has changed and that would impact the whole company. Also, our tip of the day is always in 3 languages. Maybe I need to point out to you that you have to be aware of the risks when you are starting to use Google Drive. End users can now share documents outside the company. They can access documents when they are at home. You have to be aware of that. They can also share with non-Google Apps users, which only makes kind of an invitation that everybody can use. So if somebody who is not intended to see that document gets that invitation, they will be able to access that document. And yeah, there is a revision history, but there's kind of no backup. So if an owner of a document deletes a document, then it's deleted. So for that, you need to make the strategic decision if you want to use Google Vault or another backup solution, and make sure that your users are aware of what happens when they delete something. So to round up, how are we using Google Drive now at TVH? Well, for a big part, for collaboration, when documents need to be available everywhere on all platforms, on all devices, and as a good addition, and especially for our LibreOffice users, but also for our Microsoft Office users, to make up for a little bit loss of functionality also with the add-ons. Let me point out that we don't impose the decision to use Google Drive to our end users. So every user can decide for themselves if they want to use it or not. But with the new reporting tool that Google made last week, I had a look how many of our Google Apps users are already using Google Drive. And for us, it's over 70%. That means that over 70% of all our Google Apps users have a minimum of documents that they have created themselves and shared with other people. So I think that's quite a success. For the future, there is a lot of potential, but that depends, of course, on where Google will take us and where Drive is going. That was it for my presentation. I'm happy to answer questions.
I have a question.
Yes.
If I make a bold statement.
Yes.
And this is just a personal opinion, is that we've learned over the last, let's say, 10 years to create folder structures as a way of finding back the information. So where did I store this email? And you have it archived in all the folders in Outlook, and on your Explorer in Windows, you have all those folders, just to make sure that it's under projects 2014, to help me find the document back. If you take one step back, then it's a workaround for the technology failing to find the document for you.
Yeah.
So within Google, and I joined Google less than a year ago, and I used to have big folder structures, and I was like everyone else. And I started using Google Drive, obviously, very intensively. And I'm moving away from folder structures because the search, as someone mentioned before, it's very quick on very large amounts of data. But it's also, at least that's my opinion, very, very good in finding the document that I'm looking for instance, because it's recent and stuff like that. So do you see within your organization, when people are adopting Google Drive more and more, that they're moving away from folder structures, so they're changing the way how they're using Drive, or do they just remain with folder structures and just...
I agree with you to a certain level. So let's say, for example, in our IT department or our technical department, people know how to do a good search operation and find their documents back. The less power users, I would call them, they really stick to their folder structure. You would be surprised how many questions I get of people saying, I've lost a document, I don't remember the title of it, I really don't quite remember what was in it, but it was in that folder. And that's in their mind what their document is. So for that reason, I would not yet go away from a folder structure. But for me personally, and a lot of my colleagues at IT and the technical departments, and so they know how to look for a document, they know how they call it, and they will find it. Yes.
What maybe was also a finding at our site was when we started to use Gmail. So we had the label mechanism, which was really great and which all people really like to use. But if there would be something within Drive to have the same kind of categorization mechanism, so indeed not linked towards folder structuring, but more towards tagging of the documents, that would be an extra help. So that was also why we built our index for our search application offline. So there we had finding that there was still some extra potential, or maybe this was something that we did not figure out already, but we had the impression that there was still some possibilities to make it even better. So the search mechanism is great, but we had the feeling that there might be something extra possible there.
But wouldn't you consider the folders in Drive to be exactly the labels like in Gmail?
We had the impression that it was not as flexible. So it would be great if you could drag labels.
Right, okay, so from a user interface perspective, okay. So
yes, and the folders also assist in finding files. At TVH, we have a lot of files that are named the same. It's always marketing, it's always forklift, it's always... So when they look for something, they get 100 results. So that folder structure is really helpful. Yes?
So there are no naming conventions that you agreed within the company. You're going to name a document like this?
No. Maybe in the future we will get there, but as I said, Google Drive caught up on us. So we were not planning on using it, and now a year later we see that almost everybody is using it, and now we have to set up a training plan and make that folder structure and things like that. So maybe we will use the naming convention. We already did that for the folder names in the structuring model, but not for file names.
Now, I want to add to this also an answer for your question. The main problem is not searching for a specific file. That's what most people do. The issue comes when you have multiple files related to a project, for example. So you can't search for that because all these files have different names, and you usually put them in a folder. You can tag them with a label as well, of course.
Yeah.
And therefore, you need a folder structure or something organizable.
A grouping mechanism.
Grouping mechanism.
Question for Peter, actually. If you're not managing so many folders in a hierarchy, doesn't that have an impact on your sharing, because you need to share some documents with groups of people and set individual rights?
That's definitely that, and the grouping. Those are definitely use cases for, in my opinion, to use folders. So one is to quickly find related documents to a certain topic or folder belonging to the same group, and the other is to ease of use, to share groups of files immediately in a single way, and using groups is a great way to do that.
And then you would use like one bulk folder to share everything with one specific group, or
maybe not everything, but you would have, for instance, for a project, you would have instead of having all kinds of subfolders under a project folder, you would have all files in a single folder, but still you would use the folder to group all those project-related files, because everyone in the project needs to have access, and we share it on the folder level. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, sure.
Peter, do you not have the problem that users are moving the subfolder to their My Drive and someone else in the folder has my documents?
Yes, we do. But recently there has been a change that you can see the activity, what had happened. So, and we only have a couple of those generic users. So then it's up to me to go and have a look who did what, and ask them to never do that again and put it back into place. But that's helped with the user activity. Yeah. Before there was no possibility to look for that. That's true.
Okay, so we have two questions from the audience also that are following live. Well, the first one is from Hans van der Veire, who is asking, what about the ownership of documents and the people leaving the company? How do you deal with that?
Well, we just deal with it with what Google provided. So we just change the ownership before we delete the user to the colleague who will be taking over that job. That means that the files are still shared with the same people as they were before, but the owner changes. We have also made a custom development for that, so that we can choose to do it on a folder level, but we don't really often use that. We always tend to just choose a new user who owns, who gets ownership and change it.
And then the second question is from Gian, who is asking why is the management assessing the need of Office instead of IT? Do you have a clear set of criteria on assessing the needs?
Well, there are certain departments that get Microsoft Office automatically. For example, IT or accountancy, they get Microsoft Office automatically. And for example, somebody in sales doesn't get Microsoft Office and they get LibreOffice. But maybe that person in sales also has other specific tasks, has to do some marketing, has to do some extra things. And then it's not up to IT to decide what they do, what their function is. It's only their manager or their chief who can know what they are doing and who can decide if they get it or not.
You also have to see it as some kind of a barrier for people to just ask Office. If it would be they going to IT would not have the arguments to say, no, you cannot have Office. If they have to go to their own manager who knows what they are actually doing within the company, that person can decide with the activities that you do. Microsoft Office is really a requirement for you, or it's a nice to have. So, and that's why we implemented it like this.
Okay, that's it about the audience. I don't know if you have other questions here in the room for Petra. No questions.
Okay, so now we're at the end of our event, and all that's left to do for me is to thank Capgemini for sponsoring and hosting us today for the second event. And of course, I'd like to thank all the speakers for their presentations and to thank the audience for their active participation today. And I hope to see you all soon or on our online community on Google+, or on one of our next events. So that will be all.